Greetings, fellow Taoists. This humble Taoist is 1991 Review, and I am delighted that immortal fate has brought us together again on the path of discussing the Tao. Today, a grand drama is about to unfold. The undercurrents at Kai Lin Mountain are beginning to stir. Will Han Yunji's theatrical performance be able to deceive two old foxes who have cultivated for 1,000 years? An earth-shattering secret, a heaven-defying conspiracy by the spirit-controlling sect to mass-produce nascent soul cultivators is about to be exposed. And our old devil Han, after successfully stealing the treasure, has safely returned to his cave residence. How dramatic will the interrogation of the female demonic cultivator Liu be? Will the secret of the world-renowned insect-controlling art be taken from her? Right now, let us join this humble Taoist and dive in. But before this fateful encounter begins, fellow Taoists, do not hesitate to grant this humble Taoist a like, share this Taoist art with your fellow disciples, and most importantly, form an immortal bond subscribe with 1991 Review and press the immortal bell notification bell beside it, so as not to miss any karmic opportunity on this path of cultivation, escaping the perilous situation by a hair's breadth. Han Yunji, like a bird startled by a bent branch, enveloped her body in spiritual light and desperately flew back to Kai Lin Mountain. She dared not delay. Her entire body still trembling with fear, she hurriedly knelt before a cold, gloomy stone chamber, kowtowing to plead for forgiveness from her senior martial uncle. Inside the stone chamber, a terrifying pressure from a nascent soul expert permeated the air, making it impossible for her to even breathe loudly. Faced with her senior martial uncle's questioning, she brought out the script she had already prepared, recounting the nightmare she had just experienced. The entire group had their spirit vessel blocked by a mysterious nascent soul stage old monster. That person not only possessed world-overwhelming divine abilities and snatched away the wood spirit embryo, but also went on a great killing spree. All her fellow disciples and the entire band of demonic cultivators from the Ghost Spirit Gate, regardless of their righteous or demonic affiliation, were all massacred, their souls completely annihilated, with not a single one surviving. Perhaps by heaven's mercy, she alone was lucky enough to keep her life and escape back to report the news. Inside the stone chamber, the senior martial uncle's expression became uncertain and gloomy upon hearing this. A cold glint flashed in his experienced eyes, his heart filled with doubt. A great cultivator at the late nascent soul stage, whose spiritual sense could cover several hundred miles, and who acted so decisively, why would he let a small fish like Han Yunji, with her lowly cultivation, escape? He waved his hand, his voice betraying no joy or anger, signaling for Han Yunji to withdraw, treating the matter as temporarily set aside. Han Yunji felt as if a heavy burden had been lifted and hurriedly, respectfully excused herself. But as soon as her figure disappeared past the stone door, the cold chi in the stone chamber suddenly condensed as if it were tangible. The senior martial uncle turned his face toward the darkness, his voice as cold as ice. Her voice trembled, but her heart pulse was steady. How much of what your martial sister said do you think was true? From the shadows, a figure slowly emerged. It was a middle-aged man with thick eyebrows and bright eyes. He bowed his head and reported, "Disciple used the secret sensing art." Junior martial sister Han's heart pulse only fluctuated for a moment when she recounted her escape. There's definitely a hidden truth here. Hearing this, the senior martial uncle let out a cold snort, a flash of killing intent passing over him. This Sect thinks so too. If not for showing respect to her old monster of a master, I would have long used the grand soul search art to see what secrets she is truly hiding in her sea of consciousness. It turned out this was all just a probing act. How could two old foxes who had cultivated for 1,000 years be so easily deceived by a core formation junior? After that, the two began a secret discussion about the loss of the wood spirit embryo. An earth-shattering, heaven-shaking secret, enough to shock the entire Tiannan Heavenly South cultivation world, was only now revealed. The spirit-controlling sect was secretly cultivating a 5-element spirit embryo secret art. This was a frenzied plan, a heaven-defying shortcut. They were refining 5 types of spirit embryos belonging to the attributes of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth, and then using the souls and flesh of the disciples as a refining furnace. When it reached completion, they would be fused with peak core formation disciples, allowing them to instantly possess the cultivation base and divine abilities of the nascent soul stage. The ultimate goal was to create an army of fake nascent soul cultivators, a force that knew only how to kill, sufficient to overthrow the harmonious Union sect, dominate the demonic path, and even conquer all of Tiannan. However, the wood spirit embryo stolen by Han Li was a unique variant. It had once spontaneously developed sentience, secretly cultivated the sect's secret arts, and was so ferocious that it had even devoured the nascent soul of an elder, causing that old monster's soul to be scattered to the winds. Because of this, these two old monsters believed that this aberrant spirit embryo was both a fateful opportunity and a great calamity. Whoever could fuse with it would have their divine abilities reach the mid-nascent soul stage at least. However, before the fusion, they not only couldn't nourish the spirit embryo, but they had to find ways to wear down its sentience and suppress its ferocity, to prevent it from backlashing and counter-devouring the disciple's nascent soul. At the same time, in the distant Chi country, Han Li, like a phantom, quietly returned to his cave residence in the drifting cloud sect. The first thing he did, without a trace of pity for the fair sex, was to throw Lu Yu into a quiet chamber, after which he carefully laid down several thick layers of restrictions. Next, he checked on Mu peeling status. Seeing that she was still in stable seclusion, her aura steady, he was finally truly satisfied. Once finished, Han Li went to pay his respects to the two nascent soul elders of the sect. When he recounted how he had conveniently slaughtered several core formation demonic cultivators on his way back, Cheng Qiankun and Lu Luo, the two patriarchs of the sect, not only showed no worry, but even slapped their thighs in praise, appearing extremely gratified. Meanwhile, back in Han Li's cave residence, Lu Yu awoke from her unconscious state. Finding herself in a secret chamber surrounded by heavy restrictions, her spiritual chi completely sealed. Opposite her was a stunningly beautiful young woman, but her eyes were as cold as ice and snow. After a brief exchange, Lu Yu learned she had fallen into the lair of the Heavenly Tao Alliance, and her heart instantly sank into a 10,000 zhang deep abyss. After answering a few questions, Yin Yu, Silver Moon, led Lu Yu to the main hall. There, Han Li was sitting calmly on a stone chair, his gaze indifferent as he watched a ferocious iron rhino beast imprisoned in a cage of light. With just one glance, Lu Yu immediately recognized this as the sect-protecting spirit beast of the recently annihilated Fu family. It was famously fierce, with a cultivation equivalent to the mid-core formation stage. Her heart couldn't help but be terrified. She immediately identified the green-robed cultivator before her, who looked like an ordinary young man, as the old monster who had massacred the Fu family, his methods ruthless and cruel. At this moment, to intimidate his prisoner, Han Li lightly tapped his finger on the stone table, then gently flicked a finger. A dazzling purple, pili divine lightning arc flashed. The sound of the thunderclap was ear-splitting. The bolt of lightning, as thin as a hair, carried a terrifying destructive might, instantly piercing the light cage restriction and striking the iron rhino beast directly. The spirit beast, which had been roaring ferociously, was immediately charred black, falling to ground and convulsing incessantly, its life or death unknown. Witnessing this terrifying divine ability, Lu Yu felt her heart being squeezed by an invisible hand. Seeing her face turn pale, Han Li turned his cold gaze, his voice calm, without a single ripple. Speak. Why were you following me? Knowing she couldn't deny it, Lu Yu had no choice but to confess the entire truth about the wood spirit embryo, as well as the special sensing art between her and Han Yunji. After grasping the main details, Han Li continued to press her about the mystical uses of the wood spirit embryo. Under his ice-cold gaze, Lu Yu dared not hide anything and told him everything about the spirit-controlling sect's plan to manufacture nascent soul cultivators. Upon hearing that one could ascend to heaven in a single step, directly entering the nascent soul stage, even Han Li, with his deep and calculating mind, was momentarily startled. But he quickly identified the crux of the matter and directly asked about the limitations of this art. At this point, Lu Yu seemed to have abandoned all her defenses. She confessed the fatal weaknesses of this heaven-defying secret art. Although the fused cultivator would possess nascent soul divine abilities, their lifespan would still be that of the core formation stage, a mere few hundred short years. Furthermore, their path to cultivation would be severed from that point on, forever unable to advance another step. This was not eternal life. It was a flowery death warrant. After prying out all the information, Han Li suddenly changed the subject. He looked at Lu Yu with a gaze full of deep meaning, his voice ringing out. Those 6-winged frost centipedes of yours are also rare exotic insects. Where did you get them? Opposite him, Lu Yu was momentarily stunned, but after a moment of hesitation, she also honestly recounted the fortunate encounter where she found a nest of ancient insects. After Han Li heard this, the corner of his mouth twitched up into a knowing smile. He then made an offer that made Lu Yu's heart feel as if it had stopped beating. I am very interested in your 6-winged frost centipedes, and I have methods, even specialized medicinal pills, to help them advance in rank quickly. Let's make a trade. This trade will not be a loss for you. I will help you nurture the spirit insects, but the eggs they lay must belong to me. In addition, I've heard that the insect-controlling art of your spirit-controlling sect is unmatched in the world. Perhaps you could let me consult a little? He said consult, but the threatening implication was not hidden at all. The 3 words insect-controlling art struck Lu Yu's sea of consciousness like 3 divine thunderbolts. This was the spirit-controlling sect's untransmitted, foundational secret art. Revealing it to an outsider was a great crime of betraying the sect, punishable by being hunted to the ends of the earth. Her face instantly turned deathly pale, and she cried out endlessly in her heart. Trapped in this desperate situation, in a dilemma, What could she possibly do to keep her small life? And with that, episode 166 must also come to a close. A masterful interrogation scene by Han Li. But will Lu Yu yield so easily, handing over her Sect's core secret technique? And fellow Taoists, do not forget, back on Kai Lin Mountain, those two nascent soul stage old foxes have already begun to suspect Han Yunji. The 5-element spirit embryo conspiracy has been exposed. The treasure has been stolen. Upon whose head will the wrath of the spirit-controlling Sect fall? A bloody storm is waiting to burst forth. Please approve, like this video if you found compelling, and connect, subscribe immediately to 1991 Review. Don't forget to shake the Dharma bell, ring the bell, so you don't miss any dramatic episodes. This humble Taoist is 1991 Review. We shall soon meet again on this turbulent path of cultivation.